What you're about to see isn't a video. It's a mirror. And in the next few seconds, I'm going to give you the key to understanding why your life seems like a repeated script, where the problems change names. But the feeling of being trapped is always the same. The answer isn't in any religion, political party, or self-help book. It's been hidden in plain sight, in an ancient wisdom that teaches something so dangerous it cost men their lives in the past. Your mind doesn't just think, it projects reality like a movie. And today, I'm going to show you the switch. But there's a reason why only 1% are prepared to flip it. What happens when you discover that the monster, the hero, and the screenwriter of your movie have always been you? Stay with me until the end, because what we're going to reveal isn't just how to awaken this power, but also who the guardians are that feed on your sleep. If you feel called to hear this, comment. I answer the call. There's a memory in your blood, a silent resonance that the modern world has tried to erase. It's the feeling that you are more than your history, more than the bills to pay, more than the reflection in the mirror. Today, that memory doesn't just whisper, it screams. And it brought you here, not by chance, but out of necessity. What you are about to hear is not a theory, but a rescue. The rescue of a capacity that was ripped from us, that your mind can and should control reality. This truth has been hunted for centuries. Men like Giordano Bruno were burned not for heresy, but for cosmic insubordination. They dared to say that power does not descend from a throne in heaven or a palace on earth, but emerges from within each individual. They understood that a man who knows the true nature of his mind cannot be governed, cannot be controlled, cannot be limited. This idea was, and still is, the ultimate threat to any system that depends on obedience and pettiness. You were taught to outsource your power, to religion, to government, to science, to experts. Surrender your faith, your health, your finances, your truth. In return, you receive security, comfort, and a predictable life. But inside you, the sleeping God stirs. He knows this exchange was a fraud. He knows that security is an illusion, and that the price of predictability was your own divinity. The discomfort you feel is not a flaw, it's a call back home. And this is exactly where many people get stuck. You feel the calling, but you notice that there is a lag, a delay between what you visualize and what actually happens in your physical reality. This happens because we are trying to run a high-voltage consciousness on a system that was programmed to be weak. I compiled my learning into a guide that is, literally, the operations manual that was denied to us. The Code of Thoth. It is the step-by-step process for you to take on the role of architect of your own mind and stop being just an effect of the world. If you feel like you have already spent too much time in the waiting room of spirituality and want to understand how this biological technology you inhabit really works, I left the link to this material in the first pinned comment below. It is an invitation for those who are tired of asking for permission and have decided to reclaim their own throne. But now, pay very close attention, because understanding the alchemy that comes next is what separates those who only watch from those who truly transmute reality. Forbidden metaphysics is not a set of beliefs. It's an operating manual for consciousness. It teaches that the universe is not something that happens to you, but something that happens through you. Reality is not a solid, immutable rock, but a liquid mirror that perfectly reflects your inner state. If your outer world is chaotic, limited, or painful, it's because it's mirroring an inner landscape that you haven't yet learned to navigate or transform. Think of alchemy? The story you've been told is about transforming lead into gold, a foolish quest for material wealth. But that was the coded language used to mislead the uninitiated. True alchemy is internal. The lead represents your dense emotions, fear, anger, shame. The gold is personal power, awakened consciousness, freedom. Transmutation doesn't happen in a laboratory, but in the furnace of your own heart, in the stillness of your own mind. You feel something is missing, a piece of the puzzle that would make everything coherent. You search in relationships, in careers, in possessions, but the piece isn't out there. It's buried under layers of conditioning, fear, and forgetfulness. The journey that begins now isn't about adding something to you, but about removing everything that isn't you. It's an archaeological dig of your own soul, to unearth the power that has always been there, waiting. This is not a path for the curious, but for the committed. It will require you to question everything you believe to be true about yourself and the world. It will be uncomfortable. It will be disorienting. But the alternative is to remain a prisoner in a cell without bars, a sleepwalker in a world that has convinced you that dreams are all that exist. The door is opening. What lies on the other side is not a promise. It is a consequence. You believe in the solidity of the table in front of you, in the inevitability of aging, in the concreteness of your problems. This belief is the first wall of your prison. What your eyes see are not windows to the truth, but filters programmed to hide 99% of reality. Occult science doesn't say seeing is believing. It states, if you can see with the eyes of the flesh, it's already an echo, a shell of what was. The reality you call solid is an electrical hallucination, a cardboard stage painted to look like granite. Your five senses are tools for survival, not for perceiving truth. They evolved to detect predators, find food, and reproduce. They are programmed for dense matter, for the world of effect, not cause. Modern quantum physics is beginning to stammer out what mystics have known for millennia. At the fundamental level, there is no solidity. Only energy fields, probability waves, vibrating information. You live in an ocean of infinite potential, but your senses convince you that you are in a desert of accomplished facts. This limited perception is what Eastern texts call the veil of Maya, a lie so convincing, so omnipresent, that it becomes the only truth you know. It's software running in the background of your consciousness, filtering reality so that it fits into a set of pre-approved rules. Rules that say you are weak, that life is hard, that things are as they are. Awakening is not seeing something new, it's ceasing to not see what has always been there. Science brutally confirms this. The visible light spectrum for the human eye is a tiny fraction of the total electromagnetic spectrum. You don't see radio waves, X-rays, or infrared. Your hearing picks up a pathetically narrow frequency range. You are blind and deaf to most of the universe by design. This biological blindness is the foundation of your psychological prison. It forces you to believe that what you perceive is all that exists. The prison reinforces itself with each passing moment. The news shows you chaos and scarcity. Advertising shows you what you lack. The education system teaches you to memorize, not to think. Everything converges on a single message. You are an effect, not a cause. You are a victim of circumstances, a leaf in the wind. And the most ingenious part of the trap is that, by believing this, you make it true. Your belief in the prison is what keeps it standing. Imagine you were born and raised inside a highly realistic virtual reality simulator. You would never question the reality of the simulation, as you would have no external point of reference. Your parents, your friends, all of society, everyone was born inside the same program. Anyone who said this isn't real would be considered crazy. This is not a metaphor. This is your current condition. You are a god playing a video game who has forgotten that you are playing. The first task is not to change the world. It is to break the spell of perception. It is to begin to look at your life not as a series of accidental events, but as constant feedback from your own state of consciousness. Every problem, every challenge, every pain is not an attack. It is a mirror. It is showing you exactly where your perception is distorted, where your energy is trapped. The world doesn't need fixing. Your view of it does. In the forbidden texts of Vedanta, it is stated that the universe is the dream of Brahma. But the revelation that cost the lives of men like Giordano Bruno is that you are not merely the dreamed character, you are the dreamer. The great collective hallucination works because we agree, at a deep subconscious level, to dream the same dream. We call this consensus. But what if you could become lucid within this waking dream? Forbidden metaphysics is the art of walking down the street, seeing the buildings, the traffic, and whispering to yourself, "This is a projection. I am the projector." Clarity begins with suspicion. The suspicion that consensual reality is as thin as paper. You felt it before, in moments of absurd synchronicity, when you think of someone and the phone rings. In moments of déjà vu, when a scene seems to have been rehearsed. In moments of inspiration, when an idea emerges from nowhere, complete and perfect. These are tears in the fabric of illusion, flaws in the matrix that remind you of your true nature. The system taught you to ignore them as coincidences. The initiate learns to follow them like a map. The world you experience is a three-dimensional imprint of your deepest beliefs. Not the beliefs you profess, but those that live in your bones, in your nervous system. If you believe, deep down, that you are not worthy of love, you will project a script of rejection. If you believe that money is dirty or hard to come by, you will create a reality of scarcity. The universe doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you are. It mirrors your vibrational frequency with relentless precision. Becoming lucid in a dream is the first step to rewriting it. Most people live in a state of reactive sleepwalking. Something happens, they react. The boss yells, they feel fear. The bill arrives, they feel anxiety. They are puppets whose strings are pulled by external events. The awakened person learns to insert a pause between stimulus and response. In that pause lies all their power. In that pause, you cease to be the actor and become the director of the play. The practice is simple, but not easy. Begin to observe your thoughts as if they were clouds passing in the sky. Don't identify with them. Don't judge them. Just observe. You are not the voice in your head. You are the consciousness that hears the voice. This simple dissociation is the beginning of the end of the ego's tyranny. It creates an inner space, a sanctuary of silence from which you can begin to consciously choose which dream you want to project, instead of dreaming the collective nightmare by default. Think about it. Your nighttime dreams seem perfectly real while you're in them. You feel fear, joy, pain. Only upon waking do you realize that it was all a creation of your mind. What if this waking state is just another level of dreaming, more stable, more persistent, but fundamentally of the same nature? Forbidden metaphysics is the alarm clock that rings within the dream. It doesn't wake you out of the dream, but into it. From the moment you accept, not as a theory, but as a functional possibility, that you are the dreamer, the game changes. You stop blaming the world and begin to examine the projector, your own mind. You stop trying to change the reflections in the mirror and begin to work on the face that projects them. This is the great turning point, the passage from victim to creator. And it begins with a single question, repeated at every moment. Who is dreaming this? Maya's cruelest trick, the cornerstone of the great hallucination, is the illusion of separation. Your eyes tell you that you end where your skin ends. This is the lie that justifies all wars, all fears. Hermetic manuscripts tell us the all is mind. The universe is mental. In a mind, there is no separation. The beggar on the street is a version of you experiencing poverty. The tyrant is a version of you experiencing power without love. The universe is not out there. It is happening in here. This lie of separation is the root of all human suffering. Because if you are separate, you are vulnerable. If you are separate, you need to compete for resources, for love, for recognition. The ego, this constructed identity you call I, is a fortress built on the shifting sands of the fear of annihilation. It spends its entire life reinforcing its walls, defending its small territory, without realizing that it is imprisoned within its own defense. When you feel offended, it is your separate ego that feels attacked. When you feel envious, it is your separate ego that compares itself. When you feel lonely, it is your separate ego that laments its island. But the truth is that you cannot be attacked. Only your idea of yourself can. You cannot be less than anyone. Only your self-image can. You cannot be alone. Only your perception can isolate you. The pain does not come from the event, but from your identification with a separate identity that experiences it. Modern physics, once again, arrives late to the party of mystics. The phenomenon of quantum entanglement shows that two particles that have interacted once remain connected forever, no matter the distance. If you affect one, the other responds instantly, faster than the speed of light. This violates our notion of space and time, but confirms an ancient truth. At the fundamental level, everything is one. There is no here and there. There is only a single field of consciousness expressing itself in infinite ways. Understanding this is not an intellectual exercise. It's a recalibration of the heart. When you look at another person, you are looking at another aspect of yourself. Compassion ceases to be a moral virtue and becomes a recognition of fact. Helping another is, literally, helping yourself. Hurting another is self-harm. There is no longer room for judgment, only for curiosity. What part of me is being reflected in this person, in this situation? The illusion of separation also fuels the illusion of linear time. The ego lives in the past with regrets, or in the future with anxieties, because it fears the present. The present moment is the portal where the illusion of separation dissolves. In the now, there is no history, no expectation. There is only being. And in this state of being, the connection with the whole becomes palpable. This is why all authentic spiritual practices, from meditation to yoga, are, in essence, a training to anchor your consciousness in the now. The next step on your journey is not to learn more, but to unlearn separation. Begin to practice unity in small things. When you talk to someone, see the sleeping God within them. When you see an animal, recognize the same life force that animates you. When you look at a tree, feel its roots as if they were your own. Dissolve the boundaries in your mind, and the boundaries in your reality will begin to dissolve. Because the structure of your reality is maintained by guardians who feed precisely on this illusion. If reality is an illusion, who maintains it? Gnostic texts called them archons, the rulers. In modern occultism, they are the egregores. They are not demons, but autonomous thought forms, clouds of parasitic energy that feed on your fear, your hatred, your uncontrolled desire. The veil of Maya is not just an optical illusion, it's a farming system. Every time you react emotionally to the shadows on the wall, news, crises, dramas, you are surrendering your power, giving your consent for the nightmare to continue. Thus, guardians are not external entities conspiring against you in a dark room. They are more subtle. They are fields of collective consciousness, created and sustained by humanity throughout the ages. The egregore of war feeds on hatred and nationalism. The egregore of scarcity feeds on greed and the fear of lack. The egregore of disease feeds on the belief in the fragility of the body. They are psychic parasites that whisper in your ear, disguised as your own thoughts, your own emotions. Think of a social media news feed. It's designed to provoke an emotional reaction. Outrage, envy, desire, fear. Every click, every angry share, every sarcastic comment is a small offering of energy. You think you're expressing your opinion, but you're actually feeding the entity that created the stimulus in the first place. You become a cell in a larger organism, an unwitting soldier in a psychic army, reinforcing the very matrix you're trying to escape. These thought forms function like algorithms. They learn what triggers you and give you more of it. If you have a wound of abandonment, the algorithm of life will repeatedly present you with situations that activate that wound until you stop reacting and begin to heal. The archons are not evil in a moral sense. They are the guardians of your karma. They are the personal trainers of your soul, ensuring that you don't level up until you've learned the lesson. Their function is to maintain the stability of the system, to keep the dream coherent. The illusion is maintained by a contract you unconsciously signed. A contract that says, I agree to believe what my eyes see. I agree to react emotionally to the drama of the world. I agree to be a victim of circumstances in exchange for not having to assume 100% responsibility for my own reality. Breaking this contract is the most revolutionary act a human being can commit. It is declaring your energetic sovereignty. You cannot fight an egregore. Fighting is an emotional reaction and it only strengthens it. You cannot ignore it because what you resist persists. The only way is transcendence. It is to see the guardian, understand its mechanism, thank it for the lesson, and withdraw your energy from it. It is to look at the drama of the world and, instead of being sucked into it, ask, what is this trying to teach me about myself? Where in me does this same energy exist? Freedom is not the absence of guardians. It is the ability to walk among them without being captured. It is being in the world, but not of the world. It is seeing the manipulation, the fear, the drama, and offering them no energy, no reaction, no hook to your soul. This leaves them hungry. This renders them powerless. And this ability, this divine indifference, is the first practical tool you will use to pierce the veil. This is your first moment of immediate application. The only way to pierce the veil is not to fight, for fighting generates the energy the guardians feed on. It is to starve them. Choose a piece of news or a thought that causes you fear or anger. Observe it without judgment. Do not deny it. Do not fight it. Just observe it, as if it were a cloud passing in the sky. Feel the emotion arise and dissipate without clinging to it. This is divine indifference. It is the first step to reclaiming your power. Divine indifference is not apathy. Apathy is the absence of feeling. It is being dead inside. Divine indifference is the capacity to feel everything, but not identify with anything. It is allowing the wave of anger, fear, or sadness to pass through you without drowning you. It is being the ocean, not the wave. The reactive one is the wave, tossed from side to side. The awakened one is the silent depth of the ocean, which remains still no matter how stormy the surface. Do this exercise now. Think of a problem in your life that seems insurmountable. A debt, a conflict, an illness. Feel the tension in your body, the anxiety in your chest. Now imagine you are in a movie theater, and this problem is being projected on the screen. You are the spectator, You are not the character suffering on the screen. Just observe. Observe the story, the emotions, the drama. From this distance, the solution that was previously invisible may begin to appear. The guardians of the veil are masters at convincing you that you are the character on the screen. They rely on your total immersion in the drama. Divine indifference is the act of getting up from your chair, walking to the projection room, and realizing that you are the projectionist. You can change the film at any moment. But first, you need to stop crying and eating popcorn in the front row, completely hypnotized by your own creation. This practice of neutral observation has a biochemical effect. When you react emotionally, your body is flooded with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. Your brain goes into survival mode. Rational thought shuts down. By observing with indifference, you activate the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for planning, problem solving, and emotional regulation. You literally change your biology from victim mode to creator mode. Start small. Practice divine indifference with the small irritations of everyday life. Traffic, a long queue, a rude comment. Instead of the automatic reaction of anger or frustration, breathe. Observe the sensation in your body. Give it a name. Ah, this is frustration. And then let it go. Each time you do this, you strengthen a new neural muscle. You are training your nervous system not to be a Pavlovian dog reacting to bells, but a master of itself. By withdrawing your emotional energy from external dramas, that energy doesn't disappear. It accumulates within you. It's like turning off a leaky tap. The reservoir begins to fill. This accumulated energy is your creative power. It's the fuel you will use to design a new reality. But before you can build, you need to understand the most powerful building tool you possess. The tool that programs the very code of matter. You think of words as grammar, as communication. But mental alchemy understands them as the source code that programs matter. The words you use, spoken or thought, don't describe your reality. They create it. Every I can't, it's impossible, I'm always like, this is a spell you cast against yourself, reinforcing the bars of your own cage. Transmutation begins with understanding that your language is the programming tool of your personal universe. In the beginning was the Word. This phrase, present in countless traditions, is not poetry. It's physics. It's an instruction manual. The word, the logos, is the primordial sound that organizes chaos into form. Your inner voice, your constant mental dialogue, is a microcosmic version of this power. You are, every second, uttering decrees that your subconscious and the universe obey without question. The problem is that you have been a careless programmer, writing code full of self-sabotaging bugs. Pay attention to the words you use to describe your life. You say my struggle, my headache, my debt. You claim them as property, and in doing so, you anchor them in your reality. The language of the awakened is precise. They don't say I am sick, but my body is going through a healing process. They don't say I am broke, but I am in a moment of financial transition. The shift seems subtle, but the energetic difference is monumental. You go from victim to observer of the process. The spoken word is even more powerful, as it adds the vibration of sound to the power of thought. That's why mantras and affirmations work, but not in the way popular self-help taught you. It's not about repeating a positive phrase while your subconscious screams the opposite. It's about aligning your thoughts, your emotions, and your words into a single coherent frequency. When you declare I am abundant, feeling the truth of it in every cell, the universe has no choice but to mirror that order. Silence is the womb of the powerful word. If you speak constantly, if your mind is an incessant noise, your words lose their power. They become inflated, worthless. The initiate learns to cultivate silence. He speaks less, but when he speaks, his words have weight. They move energy. Learn to be comfortable in silence. It is in this empty space that you can hear the voice of your intuition, the voice of your higher self, instead of the static hiss of the egregores. Start auditing your language. For 1 week, carry a notebook or use a notes app. Write down the negative, limiting, and self-deprecating phrases you use. I'm so stupid. This will never work. I'm unlucky. Just observe without judgment. At the end of the week, look at your list. This is the code that's running your life. You'll be surprised by the brutality of your own inner programmer. Now the task is to start rewriting the code. It's not about lying to yourself, but about choosing a higher perspective. Instead of "I can't afford this," try "How can I create the resources for this?" Instead of "Why does this always happen to me?" ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" You are changing the nature of the question, and in doing so, you change the nature of the answer that reality can give you. You are literally beginning to speak a new world to existence. Within you resides a consciousness that knows no bounds, the same spark that dreamed the galaxies. Thoth, the scribe of the Egyptian gods, knew this. He taught that the human mind is not merely a product of the brain, but a fragment of the universal mental principle itself. Your sleeping god is this higher mind, waiting to be awakened from the trance of consensual reality. Awakening? It is not an act of acquiring something new, but of removing what suffocates it. This higher mind doesn't operate with the linear logic of your intellect. It communicates through symbols, intuitions, and feelings. It's the silent voice that warns you not to enter a place, the shiver that confirms a truth, the sudden idea that solves an unsolvable problem. You've been trained to ignore this voice, to call it imagination or chance. The system wants you dependent on external logic, on data, on experts, because the intuitive mind is, by nature, ungovernable. The sleeping god is your subconscious mind in its pure state, before it's programmed with fear, doubt, and limitation. Think of it as incredibly fertile soil. Throughout your life, society, family, and your own experiences have planted seeds of weeds. You're not good enough, life is dangerous, success is for others. These seeds have germinated and created the dense jungle that you now call your personality and your reality. Awakening this god is not an explosive event, but a gardening process. First, you need to identify the weeds one by one. Then, you need to uproot them, which requires courage to revisit the beliefs that define you. And finally, you need to deliberately plant the seeds of what you wish to cultivate: confidence, abundance, power. The sleeping god is not dead. He is merely buried under the weeds you allowed to grow. Latency is a state of unrealized potential, a giant sleeping in a cradle. Your conscious mind, your ego, is the guardian that keeps you asleep, afraid of what would happen if this immense power were unleashed. It tells you stories to keep you small and safe. Don't take risks. Stay put. Who do you think you are? Awakening happens when you realize that the guardian is not your protector, but your jailer. The difference between the waking mind and the sleeping mind is the difference between being a thermometer and being a thermostat. The thermometer merely reflects the ambient temperature. It reacts. If the world is chaotic, it becomes chaotic. The sleeping mind is a thermometer. The thermostat, on the other hand, sets the temperature. It doesn't react to the environment. It conditions it. The waking mind is a thermostat. It sets the frequency, and reality adjusts to it. The work that follows is not about seeking power outside of yourself. It's about an internal recalibration. It's about learning the language of your own higher mind, silencing the noise of the ego, and taking control of the programming panel of your reality. This is the threshold. From here, we move from theory to structured practice, the protocol that transforms the sleeping into the awakened. We are now beginning a structured method to awaken your inner God. The first phase is vigilance. For 7 days, your only job will be to observe your thoughts like a night watchman. Carry a small notebook or use notes on your phone. Write down every thought of limitation, fear, or self-deprecation that arises. Don't judge them. Just write them down. You are mapping the territory of your inner enemy, the sentinels of your mental prison. This act of observation is, in itself, an act of power. Normally, these thoughts operate in the shadows, disguised as your own voice, your own truth. By dragging them into the light of consciousness, by writing them down, you create a separation. You are no longer the thought, you are the one who observes the thought. This dissociation is the first cut in the umbilical cord that binds you to your limiting programming. You are becoming the scientist of your own mental laboratory. Be ruthless at this stage. Write everything down. The I won't be able to do it before a task. The I look ridiculous when I look in the mirror. The I'll never have enough money when paying a bill. Don't filter. Don't embellish. You need to see the ugliness and repetitiveness of your patterns. You'll discover that you don't have thousands of different negative thoughts. You have maybe 20 or 30, repeating in an endless loop, like a scratched record. By the end of the first or second day, you may feel worse. This is normal. It's what happens when you turn on the light in a basement that hasn't been cleaned in decades. You finally see the dirt, the cobwebs, the mess. Don't be discouraged. This discomfort is a sign of progress. It's your consciousness recognizing the dissonance between who you really are and the programming that has been running in your mind. Healing can only begin after diagnosis. Vigilance is not passive. It's a hunt. You are actively searching for the saboteurs that live in your head. Pay special attention to moments of transition, upon waking, before sleeping, before an important task, after a social interaction. It is at these times that the sentinels are most active, trying to push you back into your comfort zone, into your familiar cell. This map you are creating is your key to freedom. Each thought you write down is a link in the chain that binds you. Many live and die without ever even seeing the chains, believing they are part of their own bodies. By performing this vigil, you are refusing to remain in this ignorance. You are preparing yourself to see the enemy clearly, to know their tactics and hiding places. At the end of the 7 days, read your list. Read it aloud. Listen to the voice of your own enslavement. Acknowledge it. Honor the fact that it protected you in some way in the past, but declare that its service is no longer needed. You're about to fire the prison guard. And for that, you need a new guard, a new code to install in the system. In the second week, for each negative thought you record, you will write next to it a power affirmation that cancels it out. If the thought is, I am not good enough, the replacement will be, I am a manifestation of divine power, complete and capable. This is not about self-deception, but about rewriting the code. You are deliberately inserting a new program into your subconscious mind, using the same language it understands, repetition and emotion. The assertion of power should not be a weak denial. It needs to be a declaration of sovereignty. For thought, this is very difficult. The replacement is not easy. It is. I have the strength and intelligence to overcome any challenge. The first is a lie. The second is an affirmation of capability. You are not denying the existence of the mountain. You are declaring that you are a mountaineer. Feel the energetic difference. This process is a battle for your mental landscape. Every time a negative thought arises and you consciously replace it, you are weakening an old neural pathway and strengthening a new one. At first, it will seem artificial, forced. The old pattern will have more strength, more momentum. But persistence is key. You are literally rewiring your brain, neuron by neuron, from the frequency of scarcity to the frequency of power. For the substitution to work, it needs to be charged with emotion. The subconscious mind doesn't respond to cold logic. It responds to feeling. When declaring your empowerment affirmation, feel it. Feel the expansion in your chest as you say, "I am capable." Feel the calm as you say, "Everything is unfolding perfectly for my highest good." Anchor the new belief in your body. Emotion is the glue that makes the new program stick. Don't expect the negative thought to disappear immediately. It will fight. It will shout louder. It will tell you that you're a fool for believing these new words. This is what's called a test of endurance. The old program is testing your resolve. When this happens, don't fight. Just observe the old thought. Thank it for its attempt to protect you, and calmly reaffirm the new code. You are the chief programmer, not the scared intern. This substitution phase is true mental alchemy. You are taking the lead of your negativity and, through the fire of your intention and the power of your word, you are beginning to transmute it into gold. The gold of self-confidence, inner peace, and the ability to create. Each successful substitution is a small victory that, accumulated, leads to victory in the war for your own mind. Continue this process for at least another week. Vigilance and replacement. Observe and rewrite. You are becoming fluent in a new language, the language of conscious creation. You are clearing the ground and planting new seeds. And for these seeds to grow strong, they need fertile soil, a body that is aligned with your new consciousness. Your body is not a passive vehicle. It is an alchemical instrument. How you breathe, what you eat, the tension in your shoulders, all of this affects your vibrational frequency and your ability to influence reality. Short, panting breaths keep you alert, feeding the archons. Deep, conscious breathing anchors you in the power of the present moment, making you immune to the fluctuations of external drama. Your body is the physical anchor of your awakened consciousness. Think about your nervous system. It has two main modes, the sympathetic, fight or flight, and the parasympathetic, rest and digest. Modern society, with its constant stress and overstimulation, keeps you chronically trapped in fight or flight mode. In this state, your body diverts energy from healing, creativity, and intuition to immediate survival. You can't dream of a new world while running from an imaginary tiger. Breathing is the manual switch between these two states. Chronic tension in your body is the physical memory of past traumas and beliefs. A clenched jaw holds onto words you haven't said. Hunched shoulders carry the weight of responsibilities that aren't yours. Stiff hips store fear and sexual repression. Releasing this tension through conscious movement, stretching, or massage isn't just an act of physical well-being. It's an energetic exorcism. You are releasing the ghosts that haunt your biology. What you consume becomes you, literally and energetically. Processed foods, full of sugar and chemicals, lower your vibration and create a mental fog. They keep you trapped in a cycle of craving and exhaustion, the perfect state for a docile slave. Living, natural foods, charged with vital force, raise your frequency. They cleanse your body and mind, making your instrument more attuned and receptive to the higher frequencies of consciousness. Your body is a tuning fork. It resonates with the energies around you. If you are in a state of inner coherence with your heart and mind aligned, you emit a powerful and stable electromagnetic field. This field subtly influences the environment and the people around you. You become a presence that calms, inspires, and uplifts. On the other hand, if you are in a state of inner chaos, your field is weak and erratic, and you become susceptible to the negative energies of the environment. The practice is to integrate awareness with the body. Feel your feet on the ground as you walk. Feel the water on your skin while showering. Savor each bite of your food. These simple acts of presence free you from the prison of the thinking mind and anchor you in the wisdom of the body. The body doesn't lie. It is your barometer of truth. If something feels wrong in your body, it probably is, no matter how logical it seems to your mind. Treat your body not as a servant or an enemy, but as your most intimate partner on the journey of awakening. Honor it, listen to it, purify it. A clear and vibrant body is a clear channel for the power of your sleeping God. It is the temple where magic happens. And by aligning your biology with your intention, you prepare yourself to confront the greatest fear that keeps humanity chained. The system taught you to fear death to keep you obedient. Forbidden metaphysics reveals it as the great initiation, not the end, but the transition from one state of consciousness to another. By accepting death not as an enemy, but as a counselor, you free yourself from the deepest fear that chains you to mediocrity. You begin to live with an intensity and purpose that the man who fears the end will never know. The fear of death is the root of all other fears. The fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of loss. All are small echoes of the great fear of annihilation. A man who fears death cannot truly live. He plays a small, safe game. He doesn't take risks. He doesn't love deeply. He doesn't follow his wildest passion. Because in every risk he sees the shadow of the end. He lives in a padded cell, trading freedom for the illusion of security. Ancient mystery schools from Egypt to Greece used symbolic death as their primary initiation tool. The neophyte was placed in a sarcophagus or a dark cave for days to confront his own mortality. By undergoing this experience and being reborn, he was freed from primal fear. He understood that the self he feared losing was merely a mask, a temporary persona. Consciousness, the true essence, was immortal. Think of your life as a single day in the school of eternity. Death is not graduation, it's just the bell that rings at the end of class. You go home, rest, and return the next day for another lesson, another experience. By internalizing this perspective, despair transforms into curiosity. Failure becomes just feedback for the next attempt. You stop clinging desperately to things and people because you understand that nothing can truly be lost. The practice is not about becoming morbid, but about using death as a focal point for clarity. The shaman Don Juan, in Carlos Castaneda's books, taught to keep death on your left shoulder. At any moment it can touch you. Knowing this, do you have time for pettiness, for procrastination, for living a life that isn't yours? Awareness of death is the ultimate catalyst for an authentic life. When you no longer fear the end, you become truly dangerous to the systems of control. They have nothing left to threaten you with. Job loss, social disapproval, physical pain, all of these lose their terrifying power when compared to the acceptance of the great mystery. You become ungovernable not through rebellion, but through inner freedom. Your loyalty shifts from the system to your own soul. Allow the awareness of your mortality to burn away everything that is not essential in your life. Let it force you to answer the most important question. If this were my last day, would I be doing what I am doing? This question, asked honestly, is the compass that points directly to your true purpose. And it is from this purpose that you finally assume your place of power. Once you understand how the mirror of reality works, you can no longer blame anyone for your misfortune. You can no longer be a victim. The outer world is a reflection of your inner state. If you see chaos, it's because there is chaos within you. If you see lack, it's because you vibrate at the frequency of lack. Changing the world is not fighting against the reflection. It's changing the face you put before the mirror. It's taking the throne of your own existence. Assuming the throne means taking 100% responsibility. Not 99%, 100%. This means that everything in your life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is your creation. It was either attracted by you, allowed by you, or generated by you. This is the hardest pill to swallow, but also the most liberating. Because if you are the cause, you can also be the solution. The power to create and the power to uncreate are both in your hands. The king or queen of a kingdom doesn't complain about the harvest. He or she examines the soil, the irrigation, the seeds. Similarly, the sovereign of their own reality doesn't complain about the results. They examine their beliefs, their emotions, their words, their actions. They understand that the external world is a perfect diagnostic panel, showing them exactly where their inner work needs to be done. Life ceases to be a battle and becomes a dialogue. Sitting on the throne demands brutal honesty. It demands that you look at your poverty and admit that it is a reflection of your scarcity mindset. It demands that you look at your failed relationships and admit that they are a reflection of your lack of self-love. It demands that you stop pointing the finger at the government, at the economy, at your parents, and point the mirror at yourself. It is an act of supreme courage. The throne is not a place of comfort, but of active power. From it, you don't make requests to the universe. You issue decrees. A request comes from a position of lack. A decree comes from a position of authority. Instead of "Please, universe, give me money," the sovereign decrees, "I am the source of my own abundance." Money flows to me easily and effortlessly. The energy is completely different. It is the energy of one who knows that the mirror must obey. Many are afraid of this power. They prefer the safety of the victim's cell, where there is always someone to blame. Taking the throne is frightening because there are no more excuses. You are solely responsible. But with this responsibility comes unimaginable freedom. The freedom to not depend on anyone else for your happiness, your peace, or your success. You become the primary cause in your own life. So, at this moment, make a decision. Will you continue being the court jester, reacting to the dramas of the kingdom? Or will you claim your crown? The crown has always been there, waiting for you. The throne has always been vacant. The act of assuming it is an internal decision, a shift in energetic posture. It is the silent declaration: the victim game is over. From now on, I reign. And it is when the sovereign assumes power that the world begins to bow. When your mind awakens, the world doesn't change instantly. Instead, you begin to perceive the cracks in the illusion. Synchronicities become commonplace. The right person appears at the right time. The information you needed comes to you. This isn't luck. It's your consciousness, now attuned to the flow of the universe, beginning to bend the reality around you. You are no longer fighting the current. You have become the current itself. Convergence is the point where your inner world and the outer world begin to consciously and deliberately mirror each other. The lag between your intention and its manifestation begins to diminish. You think of a solution, and an opportunity to implement it appears. You decide to learn a new skill, and a mentor presents themselves. the universe begins to conspire in your favor, not because you are special, but because you are finally speaking its language, the language of frequency and vibration. This phenomenon is the result of combining all the elements we've worked with. Divine indifference prevents you from wasting energy on drama. Rewriting your mental code aligns your subconscious with your goals. Aligning your body raises your vibrational frequency. Accepting death gives you the courage to act. All these factors not only add up, they multiply, creating a moment of irresistible strength. You become a center of gravity. Instead of chasing opportunities, you attract them. The right people, the right resources, the right circumstances begin to orbit around you. This happens because you are no longer emitting a frequency of need and lack, but a frequency of fullness and purpose. Abundance is not something you pursue, it is something you allow by becoming a vessel for it. At this stage, intuition becomes your main navigation tool. The logical mind is useful for performing tasks, but intuition is what tells you which tasks to perform. You learn to trust your hunches, your inspired impulses. You act without needing all the proof, all the guarantees, because you know you are being guided by an intelligence far greater than your own. You learn to dance with the mystery. The world around you may not understand. People trapped in the victim mentality matrix may call you lucky, irresponsible, a dreamer. They can't see the inner work that led to these external results. They only see the reflection in the mirror, not the face that projects it. Don't try to convince them. Just live your truth. Your life becomes the lesson. Your joy becomes the proof. This is the turning point, the threshold where knowledge becomes lived wisdom. You no longer believe you can control reality. You know you do, because you see the evidence every day. Metaphysics ceases to be a theory and becomes your daily experience. And it is from this position of embodied power that you perform the final act, the activation that solidifies your new identity. The flames of the Inquisition have died down, but the truth they tried to burn is now alive within you. This knowledge is not to be kept, it is to be lived. You are the ritual. Your life is the ceremony. Every conscious thought, every act of courage, every moment of divine indifference is a blow against the veil. Leave a comment below with the word awakened, not as a metric of engagement, but as a symbolic act. A declaration to the universe that you are no longer asleep. This act of publicly declaring your awakening is a powerful spell. You are using the word, charged with intention, to anchor your new reality in the physical world. You are drawing a line in the sand. The self that existed before this moment was the sleeping one. The self that exists now is the awakening one. It is a rite of passage that you yourself officiate. There is no need for a priest or a guru. The power has always been within you. By joining others who make the same declaration, you participate in the creation of a new egregore. An egregore of sovereignty, personal power, and conscious creation. You stop feeding the old parasites of fear and scarcity and begin to nurture a new collective thought form. Each person who awakens strengthens the next. Your courage gives permission for others to be courageous. The journey doesn't end here. In fact, it only begins. Awakening is not a destination. It's the beginning of true life. Now, the work is to continue polishing the mirror, refining your frequency, expanding your capacity to dream. Now the challenge is to live each moment from this new state of consciousness, especially when the old world tries to pull you back into the dream. Remember, you are the projector. Reality is the screen. If you don't like the movie, yelling at the actors won't help. Take the script, rewrite the scenes, change the soundtrack. You have the power to transform your personal tragedy into an epic story of triumph, not because someone gave you permission, but because you finally remembered who you are. The truth that sets you free is not a comfortable truth. It demands everything from you. It demands your ignorance, your excuses, your smallness. In return, it gives you back your divinity. The choice, as always, is yours. You can click to close this window and go back to sleep, or you can take your place in the universe as a conscious creator. The wisdom of Thoth is not written on dusty emerald tablets. It is encoded in your DNA, waiting to be activated. Today, you received the key. The door is before you. What you do now is not just a choice about your future. It is a decision about the nature of your own soul. The truth is within you. It is time to use it. If you've made it this far, you're no longer the same person who pressed play at the beginning. The seed has been planted. To seal this first step and join others on this same journey, leave your mark in the comments with the phrase, "The sleeping God has awakened." If this video touched your soul, I have an invitation that goes beyond knowledge. For our mission to remain alive and reach more minds, we need to walk together. Today, the most powerful way to support this channel is through an exchange. By purchasing the ebooks The Thoth Code and The Monad Code, you receive the keys to mental alchemy and the laws of consciousness, and we receive the support necessary to keep going. It is not just a purchase, it is your seal of commitment to the awakening we promote here. Without this support, our journey becomes limited. The link is pinned in the first comment. Shall we keep this frequency active